What is happening? Welcome to the Nick and Alex Baseball Show, the show where we can count past 101. My name is Nick Pollack, and I am joined by the still stuck in Florida, Alex Fast.
Let me out! We had not to regale people with our tales, but yes, still in Florida, not as intended. We're supposed to fly home Saturday. Nice little double ear infection for Zelda. Can't fly because there's fluid. It'll burst. Don't want that to happen to my 6-month-old daughter. Doesn't sound like
absolutely
a fun flight.
not. What a good father you are for preventing that from happening. But so today it's different because normally we do the On the Corner on Mondays and we do Nick and Alex Baseball Show Tuesday nights. But we flipped it this week for two reasons. One, we have this day off right before the divisional series. And I felt like this is the day we got to talk about it before all the series happen. Lead you guys up to it tomorrow morning. And look, we got 5 months to dissect my top 200 starting pitchers. So one more day is all right. I haven't actually put it out yet. I did a whole stream today. It is 200. I think I'm done with the top 100. I'm going to look over it again tonight. Then do the rest of the top 100, the top 200, the back end of 100. Doesn't matter. And then write some notes on it and get it out tomorrow morning. That's the plan. And then also Fast can criticize me before it's public. And that's a good thing too. You know? Nice. So, but we're going to talk about lots of things. We're going to talk about the series that just happened with the all of them. And Fast, I know this is bad. I've already forgotten what teams I predicted. I feel like I wanted the Phillies. I was saying it's going to be the Phillies.
Yeah.
I wanted the Padres just because it'll be the Mets, and I said it's got to be the Mets. I couldn't let them down, but I really wanted to do Padres. We both did. Yeah. You know. And then I think I had the Mariners. I think I had
that. You chose. Yeah, I chose the Guardians. You chose Tampa Bay. I chose the Blue Jays. You chose the Mariners.
Yeah.
I chose San Diego. You chose the Mets. And we
did you really don't choose San Diego? I feel like you went back at the end.
No.
I don't know. We got the tape.
No, go to the tape.
Yeah, go to the tape.
But all that matters is the first one. All that matters is the first one.
And then I had the Phillies. I did have the Phillies. I believed in Nola and Wheeler.
Yeah, we both had Philly.
Yeah. Okay. So you're up here apparently. I think it's even.
Who cares? None of it matters.
I do.
I am very excited for this NABS because it feels like we're because of the way that this falls. We are in that like prime.
Yeah. Your audio just went out in case anybody listening live. I can't hear Fast right now.
Yeah. This is what happens when you get a phone call on your Bluetooth. I was saying that we're back. I'm excited because we usually are dealing with news that has either just happened or recapping things that have happened over the week or in that prime spot.
Sure.
It's like, oh baby, we can review all the big things that just happened. We can do previews of next week. Let's start with some of the big things that just happened. I mean, it's everyone's ears are burning when we bring it up.
Right.
Sarah's just released an article about it on The Athletic. We have to talk about Joe Musgrove and the conspiracy that's been happening. I think I saw Pitching Ninja tweeted that, and it was very funny. What is your take on this?
I mean, I gotta believe Andrew McCutchen. Andrew McCutchen put out a tweet saying that a lot of players or some players put red hot on their ears before games, and there are a lot of photos of Musgrove. His ears are red all the time, and you're in the most adrenaline focused start of the year. We expect velocity to be up in the playoffs. That is well known and documented. Guys throw harder in the playoffs. I remember seeing Kyle Freeland hit 97 once. I mean, it's what happens. Okay. So it doesn't surprise me that we would see higher spin rates generally on a fastball because you throw harder. It's easier to get more force on it. It's a little different maybe with breaking pitches because you can say, oh, the more friction you have on the ball, the more ability you have to stay on later to tug it. Fine.
Sure.
But everything else seems kind of in line. I saw a really good tweet and I really wish I remember who it was, but I was just scrolling before. Stuck with me. That said, essentially spin rates are up 5% across everywhere. And it was 5.3% for Musgrove yesterday in his postseason. So it's, I think that was nothing. I think it's kind of amazing. I love those moments in baseball that we have I
Yeah.
ears getting inspected,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think it's incredible. But yeah, do I think that he was using some illegal substance? No, I don't.
Yeah, neither do I. It was a little disappointing yesterday to see some writers who I really respect kind of uh, just looking at spin rate and kind of forgetting that spin rate is tied to velocity. So if you see a jump in velocity, you're likely going to see a jump in
Right.
spin rate. Those are very much related. And it was also frustrating to see then today a lot of older beat writers be like, I spoke to older pitchers and they
Oh,
said,
I saw that tweet. Yeah, two former
it's just
pitchers. I think Mike
it's
Petriello
maddening.
said, "How former?"
Yeah, exactly. That was a fantastic response from him because listen, that's frustrating. I mean, like I'm not going to get into a whole big rant about misinformation and quote unquote fake news and stuff like that, but it was annoying to see so many people react to that and scapegoat that when it was so not the case. And like also if you don't want that to be the case, then win with Max Scherzer. You know what I mean? Like have your
Mm,
offense, score a few more runs. And maybe you're saying, well, if Musgrove was cheating, they weren't going to be able to score a few more runs. I don't also know if that's the case because it's not like all of a sudden he was throwing 5 miles an hour at worst. But I also have another theory that kind of ties us into
yeah, go
the
ahead.
the Mets, not about the ears in particular, because he wasn't cheating. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I was thinking about it today and thinking about it last night because I feel for all the Mets fans, I truly do. I think it's very tough to have your season end that way. I think what happened is because of the fact that down the line they had to fight for the NL East division spot,
Hmm.
they had to perpetually start DeGrom, who's dealing with a blister issue. They had to start Scherzer, who I just have a really difficult time believing he was 100%. Had to start Bassett, who I think I had a difficult time believing that he was 100%. Whereas those are not spring chickens. And if the wild card or the division, either or, are firmly wrapped up, you're letting them rest a little bit more. Maybe you're doing some phantom IL stints. These are older guys. You want to be able to rest them, have them fully healthy or as close
Sure.
to 100% of the playoffs as possible. But here you are with the antithesis. You're putting them in essentially a playoff environment in Atlanta a week before this series, and they're going all out. They're not doing well. I don't know. I was hoping they could bounce back, but I think that if we're kind of pointing to where this kind of all went wrong, I think that's kind of where it starts to
A
unravel
lot
for
of
them.
people will also bring up the Cubs series that they couldn't get
Yeah.
in a win. They didn't capitalize fully against the Pittsburgh Pirates. DeGrom showed up, and the home run that Trent Grisham hit, by the way, the solo shot, was a 100-mile-per-hour fastball down and away, perfectly spotted by
Yeah.
DeGrom. I mean, it's not like he pitched terribly. Chris Bassett was not at his peak. It wasn't the worst I've seen Chris Bassett.
No.
Max Scherzer allowing 4 home runs, very abnormal, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Sure, the home run that Grisham hit was not a good pitch, and Scherzer relies more on command and sequencing than does DeGrom. Still, the Padres did things right too, and the Mets bats did not wake up. Game one and
So
game three, 1 earned run, 0 earned runs. I mean, they got to do better than that,
yeah,
and that's a huge deal.
it's funny that you say that because it also brings up another interesting point about defense overall. Because I'm thinking about Chris Bassett, right?
Mhm.
And highest ground ball rate of his career was this year. The first 2 or 3 earned runs were all off ground balls that just found holes. You
Sure.
know what I mean? And a lot of the time, positioning is going to turn those into outs, and it just makes you like. I do this all the time. It's very easy to cite infield defense metrics over the course of a season. But
Mhm.
the Cardinal series proved that it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the Cardinal series when we saw what like I don't want to say it wasn't errors, but it was 3 ground balls that could have been ground out double plays to help them win a game were completely botched. It was super reminiscent of the Texas Toronto series that led up to the Jose Bautista home run. I think a lot of people forget that like before that there was like all these weird issues going on the field. No, I was trying to use a word, and I just looked it up to make sure it was the right word, and it wasn't the right word. Um,
I
there were
just
all
say
these.
it anyway fast. That's what I do.
No, yeah, I had to make sure it was correct. There were all these. I think it was like Elvis Andrews and what's his name?
You're doing great.
Didn't like getting his head touched ever. Why am I forgetting his name?
Adrian Beltre.
Yeah, Adrian Beltre errors that were happening, and it's just kind of goes to show you, like, Bassett was being Bassett last night, like you said, he got those ground balls, but yeah, it was a tough beat. It was a tough beat for the Mets.
Something to be said about Bassett's ground ball rate this year. I was actually saying this on the stream today. Was generally ground ball rates are going to follow. I mean, it's just what you're throwing, right? Either as a pitcher, you're trying to miss bats or the barrel of the bat either up or down. And if you're missing it up, it's because you have a four seamer that's going to ride higher and above the bat. If you're missing down or you're missing the barrel underneath it, that means you're having a higher emphasis on changeups and curveballs and sliders that are going under, right? Sometimes you miss the barrel at the handle. That's more the cutter stuff or two seamer stuff. But sometimes, for the most part, two seamer also going down, right? So this year, Bassett actually pulled back from four seamers to throw everything else, and that's, I think, a major reason why you saw that higher ground ball rate. You saw Austin Nola hit a RBI single for two of them. I cannot say sentences right now. Yeah, that was an 0-2 curveball. I don't think it was that bad of a curveball. I think actually that curveball has treated Bassett really well. Was it the prime location? No, but generally, I mean, that's a grounder that just scooted through the hole. And that goes straight into Lindor's mitt, or so everyone goes, great job, pass it through his best pitch, and it worked out, right? And it just happened to find the right spot. Good on Nola getting enough of the bat on the ball to make that happen, right? And that's baseball. I mean, baseball is weird, and things work out well. Musgrove pitched incredibly well.
Yep.
And he pitched better than Bassett. Should it have been as many runs? Maybe not. But still, I mean, Musgrove did pitch better. That's kind of what happened. And sorry, Mets, it's that's the end of your year. I feel terrible for you, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
So there's a few other series that we're actually no. Let's get the other series first. But before we wrap on talking about the series that we just watched, though, I do want to get to what your overall thoughts on the 3-game wild card series looked like. But before we do you have anything additional to say about Phillies cards before we look at the other wild card series?
I do, and I'm going to mention it after this quick break. I got you. I know, early. I know.
12 minutes. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm trying the early ad breaks. I'm trying the early boys.
You can't say you got me when you're doing it an average.
I got you. I wanted to see your face.
8 minutes earlier than we usually do it.
Yeah, I know. We're doing the 12:15. Okay. Now we can just forget about it and go. The Phillies cards, honestly, I'm excited about it. Aaron Nola's first playoff game ever, and he dominates Zach Wheeler, just as Zach Wheeler, and he did great. I love that Yadier Molina got to have his last at bat. No one wants to end a career on deck is one of the best things I've heard from Alex Rodriguez. And he got to get up to the plate and get a single and keep their team alive. Like, he didn't feel like he didn't do it. He gave it out, had that at bat, continued the line. Just didn't work out for them. So I'm excited for the Phils. I got to say, it was really fun watching that comeback in the first game, and to see them just cruise through the second one. Also, I'll say I wanted a Sunday filled with 4 more elimination games or whatever. All we got was one of them. Whatever, it's fine. I'm excited for Tuesday's 4-game affair once again. But yeah, I mean, that was a fun series too. Sorry, Cardinals, but I think honestly seeing Aaron Nola and Wheeler going at it, wonderful stuff.
Yeah, totally. I think my take on it was like, and this is like,
what?
Both of these pitchers fared relatively well, but like, when you take a step back and you look at it without really a lot of baseball acumen, you're like, oh, wait, the Cardinals didn't win a series where their 2 starting pitchers were Jose Quintana and Miles Michaelis. Jose Quintana was totally fine. Really, that really wasn't the issue. I mean, it really was the infield defense and a bullpen explosion that kind of let them down. But it was kind of funny to think about it that way, and you're right.
Did you realize how much Jose Quintana grunts? I forgot.
I didn't know. I didn't.
It was loud. It was loud and proud. I mean, they weren't going to start Adam Wainwright. I didn't think we were going to see him at all, because I really do believe fatigue got to Adam Wainwright in September, and it is kind of sad to see. I mean, I think Wainwright should retire. Molina and Pujols certainly are. You got to see Jordan Montgomery. I thought it was a funny moment of, hey, this is going to define who won the Yankees Cardinals trade right now. Montgomery Bader, and Montgomery allowed a run. I was like, see, Yankees, you win. You did it. You know, and I will say I that is something I'm going to be watching a lot. I'm so intrigued about. We'll talk about that series in a moment, but how Harrison Bader performs. Haderson
Anderson Bader.
Bearer.
Are you okay?
No, I'm not.
Anderson
No.
Bader.
How well he performs in the playoffs. I mean, this is why the Yankees made that deal. They knew they were going to win the AL East. They knew that their number 5 starter could be Domingo Germán and they'd be fine. And if Harrison Bader does well in the playoffs, they're going to say, look, like we needed this outfield bat and he's going to serve us better than Jordan Montgomery would have. I'm going to be, I can't wait to see it. If he hits like a big home run, but guys, they won the trade.
Yeah.
It's going to be really, really fun.
Yankees Twitter is going to go absolutely wild if that happens. The last thing I wanted to say about the Cards Philly series is like that's an offense that can be like a kind of feast or famine offense, right? With Castellanos and with Hoskins. I mean, Schwarber obviously more home runs than ever before this year. Harper great, Real Muto great, Bohm to an extent, but like there were definitely moments in that series, like with that comeback, where you're like, oh, that's a team that could get hot. Like that could really be. I don't think they will be, but like that's a team that could be last year's Braves. They don't have the same pieces, but what I mean by that is a team that like gets into the World Series, and you're like, oh. I didn't see this coming. This is kind of interesting.
Isn't it fun also to see that team just get so amped in that ninth inning? Like it's so cool just seeing a team that's just so linked and in at the same time. I love it.
To see them on LinkedIn was great. Also to see Segura, it is crazy to me that was his first postseason appearance. That is absolutely bananas to me, considering how long of a career he's had.
And he had the go-ahead single. Oh my god,
that was nice. That was very beautiful. That was very much a hashtag ain't baseball beautiful. So that takes care of, all series in the wild card except for one, right?
We haven't done the AL.
We haven't done any of the AL ones. So we can start with the Mariners. Listen, that second game, you gotta feel for the Blue Jays. I mean, it's one thing I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before in my life. It's one thing to blow an 8-1 lead. It's another to have it happen while losing one of your best contributors. Like that is just unprecedented.
It was the quietest I've ever heard a stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, it was I was silent watching.
Yeah.
I made a loud noise and then just sat. Is he okay? Did this just happen? Like, what's going on? What an unreal moment. But you gotta be so excited for the Mariners, though. You gotta.
Yeah, you do. You really have to be excited for the Mariners, especially any team that's going to dance the hora on the field after the game.
Way to get it right. Way to correct.
I know. I can't believe I lost all my Judaism cards this weekend when I accidentally said that it was the Hava Nagila because it's the hora. But
3,000 likes don't care fast.
That's true. But I care. I actually was very down about it. It's funny when you said that like you were silent when the moment happened. I was on the phone with a Delta Airlines representative getting our flight changed, and I will not say what I said. There were many expletives, and then for some reason I was like, sorry, we're watching the baseball game, and the Mariners just came back from 8-1, and George Springer just got hurt, and the guy on the other line was like, all right, we got you all checked in. Couldn't care, and I couldn't hang up to experience the moment because I'm not gonna wait 45 minutes to get this all done again. But yeah, you obviously very exciting for Mariners fans. I loved seeing the live shots of Safeco with people freaking out with the shoes on their head. I will say too that for I have a great relationships with Blue Jays fans. I love Blue Jays fans. I think they're very nice. But for the small few who have made it their purpose in life to bring up Buck Showalter, not bringing in Zach Britton, all I got to say is 8-1 now, and we're good to go.
Okay. Very on that topic, very quickly. Saturday, you're up. What? Yeah. You're up. What was it, like 2 runs or 3 runs or something at that point? Brings him in the 7th inning. All I thought to myself is like Buck is just saying, I'm not letting this mistake happen again.
Yeah,
I gotta like just not forget about it. Oh, right, Edwin Diaz exists. It's the 7th, whatever. Just get him out there. But sir, it's not the 8th or the 9th inning. We're ahead. Like I don't care. Get him out there. I was shocked he was out there for the 8th though. That just made no sense to me.
The eighth was an interesting choice. Yeah, I would have to think that Buck is getting more calls from the front
Right.
office
Sure.
than he was when he was in Baltimore now, and they're probably telling him how to run the game. You all like, I don't, that the losses in Baltimore, that loss was on Buck, but remember, like, there's no way, there's no guarantee we would have won that game to begin with. You look at Buck's history, the fact that he has never, I don't think he's never won a CS game. He's been, but he's never won. He got swept. The Orioles got swept with the Royals. He's never won a CS game. That's remarkable.
Yeah, poor
You feel
guy.
for him. You
I
feel
mean, I
for him.
gotta say, everyone. I remember talking to a lot of Mets fans, and they were not thrilled at the Buck signing last year. I was excited for it for them because I think Buck is an amazing player manager. And
I,
he wasn't gonna have to make those decisions. Exactly what you said. They won 101 games this year.
yeah.
Um, so I have all the respect for Buck. And I gotta say, his faces are the best faces in the majors now that Tony La Russa is no longer a Chicago White Sox manager.
So I conflated Buck and Tony La Russa, and I don't think that's the case. I was
Right.
definitely one of the ones at the beginning who was like, oh, I wonder if they're just going to try and bring back an old school brand of baseball. And then from the people that I've talked to, it seems like he's just truly like a clubhouse darling, and they absolutely love
Yeah.
him. And then that we also got that sweet video of Lindor's daughter seeing Buck in the corner and saying Buck,
Yeah, we
and then
did.
being that was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
We should go to
Yes.
before we move on to the last one. Any final thoughts about M's Blue Jays?
Ray got rocked. Castillo was incredible.
Yeah,
Cool to see Kirby close out a game.
yeah.
And the one thing I think is the most interesting, I think, about the wild card stuff is how it sets up rotations for the LDS, which we'll talk about in a moment. Um, I hope that the Mariners have enough in the tank for it. But yeah, that was a really fun one and good old Big Dumper coming through.
Well, oh my God, we'll talk about the rotations as we go into the previews, for sure. So, but let's go to our last series here. Um, Cleveland versus Tampa.
Yeah.
If you like pitching, boy, oh boy, do I got a series for you. Oh lordy. Listen, I tweeted this yesterday, and I'm going to bring it back up again, and I'm not going to be apologetic about it. I didn't think that it was the most entertaining game, and a lot of it's so messed up that like you say that, and people are like, if you don't like that, then baseball's not for you. And it's like, no, I don't know if that's the case. It's okay to be like, there's been one hit in 19 innings here. This isn't really the most fun. But it did make me think that even in the playoffs, I think it could be exciting for the sport to do a 12th inning Ghost Runner.
I completely agree. That was boring as
Okay.
hell.
Okay. It was, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was. Look. I'm a pitching guy. You guys know this. Shane McClanahan against Shane Bieber was amazing.
Yeah.
It's Battle of the Shanes. Don't forget the name or whatever. And you have Tyler Glasnow against Tristan McKenzie. That was great. Super fun. You maybe have some Class A in there. You have some Karinchak. Okay. And then it's just like, what is this? I don't, I am so bored, and
Yeah.
I understand. I've said this a lot. Like I get that people get bored about baseball.
Yeah.
For me, the excitement is really good. Like the best starting pitchers generally are just doing their thing. It's a whole story of that. And when it gets so interrupted all the time, it feels like purgatory for the extra innings when nothing is happening. And I get it completely.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Props to the Guardians. They made
Totally.
the most out of what they had. They did their part, and they put themselves in a situation to win. The Rays have to honestly score more. That's more on the Rays to score more than it is the Guardians, and they didn't come through. That's that. I am excited for that series, but moving forward, again, we're going to talk about that in a second. But SpongeBob SquarePants is my big takeaway.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I didn't realize this. Had there been a Rule 5 draft, the Orioles would have had the opportunity to select him, Oscar Gonzalez, when he was eligible, and that haunts Paul Marcano, who tweeted about that who works for the Baltimore Orioles. I will say there were obviously some exciting moments. Jason Adam coming in after
Oh
Nick Van
yeah,
Lins and getting out of a bases loaded jam. That was like,
Unbelievable.
here we go.
And here we are. It's Jose Ramirez now, bases
Yeah.
loaded, in a 0-0 game in the 6th inning. That's incredible.
Yeah, that changeup that he actually missed his spot on, but it still
Oh,
came
right,
in.
right.
That was like, ooh, really,
Well,
really
it was
beautiful.
he missed 2-0. He threw a slider, hit a batter, so now it's bases loaded, right? You have 2 fastballs he completely misses with.
Yep.
And I love modern baseball now because anytime you get to 2-0 and you miss, it used to always be a fastball, and now it's pretty much always a secondary. And he threw a changeup out of the zone, down and away, like in the dirt almost. And Jose Ramirez swung through it. And in that moment, it's essentially like, oh, Jason Adams just going to throw only changeups for the rest of the way because he can't find his fastball command. He hit a guy with a slider and he gets a whiff on the changeup, and that's his best pitch. Like, all right, that's all he does. And that's all he did. And he struck out Jose Ramirez on it. And then he got out of the inning. Great stuff.
Great stuff. Great job. All right, before we move on to the previews of the DS series, one last thing. Were you a fan of the 3-game wildcard series?
Oh, absolutely. That was wonderful. We had a weekend of baseball.
Yeah.
And what it used to be is you get 2 games here, 2 games there, a little scattered. It felt kind of like, oh, I guess that game is now. All right. This was a weekend, not like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, you start the playoffs or something and people are still at work and they just missed the Brewers game or something. This was the weekend. It was our weekend of baseball. Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, it is interesting. I dug it as well. The notion of a team getting an advantage by not having to travel for 3 days or being home, gone, because 3 out of 4 away teams won those series. So if anything, was more pressure put on the home team to perform, and they all tanked. I think it's fun. It's a fun brand of baseball where it's like we've talked before. I think it was one of the wild thoughts where it was like remove all the off days from the playoffs. So
that's what I want.
And 5s, right?
Yeah.
And really, the wild card series, while it forces you to at least have a really solid number 3, right? It would have been very interesting to have it go to a 3rd game, both for the Guardians, who is Cal Quantrill, is it?
Yeah. Right.
For the Mariners, right? That there's an interesting choice to be had there. We probably know it was going to be
Logan Gilbert.
Logan Gilbert. If there is a 3rd pitcher on the Cardinals, who would it have been?
It's like 8 of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'm in agreement with you. But for now, we're gonna move on to some of these DS series. The big piece of news coming into the division series: Aroldis Chapman not going to be on the roster. He called Aaron Boone and he said, "Am I going to be on the roster?" And Aaron Boone said, "Are you going to show up?" And he said, "Am I going to be on the roster?" And he said, "Are you going to show up?" And then Boone was like, "You're not showing up. Goodbye." Didn't put him on the roster. Is this just kind of addition by subtraction for the Yankees?
It honestly could be. The inconsistency of Chapman since the tattoo midseason has really messed things up. And it could be the end completely. I mean, that's it. Chapman done in New York. As a Yankee fan, I know I don't say that often, but I'm happy. Good riddance. Finally, I don't have this horrible human on my team. So yeah, I think that actually clears the air a lot. With you don't want to, in every team, you can talk about how good a player is or not. It always helps a team to remove someone who is bad on morale and not in with you. Remove that cloud of haze or cloud of despair and confusion, and just like it feels like it's holding. You're not allowed to be excited. You don't feel like you have each other's backs and everything. And having Chapman, who's clearly not totally in this, removed, bring up someone else who's so happy and thrilled to be there. They didn't expect to be part of that roster and is just ready and create that amazing energy. I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. Why don't we let's move into the CS series here, DS series here. Let's start with Seattle, Houston. Listen, there's gonna be it's very easy to look at these previews and be like, okay, the best teams are Houston, Atlanta, the Yankees, and the Dodgers. Baseball never works out this way,
No.
right? I will be shocked just by law of averages if that is what the CS series looks like. One of these teams is going to, get an upset here. So I'd be curious to know when we get to that series who you think the one upset is going to be. We're going to start, as I said, with Seattle, Houston. Let's do it kind of like how we did before, where we're talking about rotation, and then offense and bullpen, maybe even bring into fielding a little bit if we want to. The rotation,
that doesn't matter. Fast look at the Cardinals.
Yeah, actually, you're right. It doesn't matter. So we don't really even need to talk about it. You're right. I don't know if overall it does matter. The Astros likely going to roll with Verlander and then Valdez and then Musgrove, Urquidy. I don't know who the four would be. If it would be Urquidy or Javier, but I imagine 1, 2, 3 is Verlander or Valdez.
Javier's been so good. You can make an argument that he should be the third.
Yeah, he could be.
The Astros.
I think
I was actually I'm doing my top 100, top 200 for next year, and I have Christian Javier in my top 25. I'm really tempted to put him inside my top 20. I think he's an unbelievable talent, one of the best four-seamers out there. I mean, he's essentially like Spencer Strider. It's really wild. Anyway, I mean, you have to put it obviously in the Astros' favor, just because, of course, we're talking about with the wild card. Now you have Gilbert. Now you have, I guess, George Kirby, and the ordering of this is weird. You only really get one of Robbie Ray and Castillo, I believe, each. So it's going to be a little strange to figure out how the Mariners figure this one out for a 5-game series.
You can probably get Castillo for game 2 and Ray for game 3, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. Each. You might be able to figure out, because of the off days, it's possible Castillo can squeeze in for 5, but it might be tough to do. It's not as divided as we'll see in other rotations, I believe, because Gilbert and Kirby, as I call them, Jerby, are solid. I mean, those are teams that have taken down the Astros before individually in season. Sure. So it's not just handed over to the Astros here. Ray's got to step it up, though. I mean, it's one of the better four-seamers around, but you can't have the game that you did on Saturday. Good news for him is that Teoscar Hernandez is not on the Houston Astros roster.
Yeah. You have to figure it's Logan Gilbert starting game 1 against Verlander, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Verlander's already announced, so then it's Gilbert versus Verlander, and then, like you said, goes into Castillo, goes into Ray, and then things get a little bit more interesting if it goes to a game 4 and game 5. I think you're totally right that it's really difficult to look at these two rotations, and while there's a lot of talent obviously in Seattle, it's difficult not to give it to Houston. Is there really any conversation to be had too about offense? I mean, that Houston team is pretty dang good offensively. Yeah. So I don't know. Is there any case to be made for the Mariners over the Astros offensively?
No, but the Mariners are clicking at the right time. They just scored 10 runs against the Jays, so there's something to be said there.
Yeah. And then also, I guess when it comes to the bullpen, there's a lot of great arms in Seattle. Believe in those. Even though Sewald got hit pretty hard, Munoz, Sewald, usually Brash. Very good. Yeah, Brash, of course, Matthew Boyd. But it's tough to, Ryan Presley, Rafael Montero, and Hector Neris, all top 30, arguably relievers in baseball. You really only need, that and maybe one more, and then you still have Ryan Stanek and Will Smith, who are also still very good, to turn this game over. Let's not also forget too, Hunter Brown could be a big name for them coming. I'm thinking about, remember when Joe Musgrove? We talked about how excited we were for Joe Musgrove coming in for long relief in the playoffs.
Well, right. Well, we have that on both sides. You have Marco Gonzalez and George Kirby on the Mariners side. You have, a 7-man rotation for the Astros. So there's Garcia, there's Jose Urquidy, there's Hunter Brown, as you mentioned, Lance McCullers. Theoretically, early in the series could pitch. Even if they would go game 4, theoretically, they could pitch with 2 off days between then.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's make our predictions. Then.
Oh no, we say the predictions for the end. Who will win the World Series?
You want to do it all?
Yeah, all the end. Interesting thoughts about the Mariners and the Astros. Let's move to the Yankees and the Guardians. And in this one, you have the Yankees have it set up. I mean, Cole, Cortez, Severino. I think there's been a lot of discussion about the weakness of the Yankees being a little bit with their pitching through the year and Cole's home run rates, but Cortez has woken up. Severino looked amazing in that final game against the Rangers. I mean, no hit ball for 7 innings with his fastball up to 97.8 miles per hour is insane.
Yeah.
They seem pretty locked up here, while the Guardians gonna have to start Cal Quantrill in that first game. Then they will get Bieber and then McKenzie. But then is it Quantrill again? Is it Aaron Savali in potential game 4? It gets really, really questionable for that team. You have to favor the Yankees with the rotation fast.
Yeah, you definitely have to favor the Yankees for the rotation. If I'm playing, devil's advocate, we've seen the volatility of Cole, right? We've seen him
3.5 ERA this year.
Yeah, just we've seen it blow up every once in a while, but I don't think that you can't really make a case really that
No.
the 1, 2, 3 of the Yankees.
So you'd rather have Cal Quantrill and his 3.4 ERA. So
exactly.
Now
was his ERA better than Cole's?
I believe so.
Oh my God, wow.
Yeah, that's a good tweet. Fast, I'll give you that one. Now going to the rotation, the bullpen. You might give the case to the Guardians. The Yankees have been cheeky. They lost Michael King, Clay Holmes, the Adobe, not as pristine as he was in the beginning of the year. There's Jonathan Loaisiga, but you might want to give this one to the Guardians.
Yeah, I think you have to give it to the Guardians. I think they're one of the more dominant. They're one of the more dominant bullpens in baseball this year, and could be a top bullpen in the playoffs this year overall as well with the Dodgers. I think if the Yankees were at full strength, this would be a completely different story. But I think there are, listen, it's difficult to have a good bullpen when, like you said, you lose Michael King, you lose Chad Green, you lose Zach Britton, you lose Wandy Peralta. Like that's tough to be able to overcome a lot of those obstacles. You're not going to have Chapman, although, like we said, that's kind of addition by subtraction. And, there have been guys who have been effective. Scott Efros was really effective for them in the past couple of weeks. But, Miguel Castro wasn't amazing. He wasn't elite. Neither was Clark Schmidt. Lou Treviño, I remember at the beginning of the year, Lou Treviño was I know we're not talking about fantasy, but was like the one guy in fantasy that you didn't want to get stuck with as your closer in Oakland. It was Lou Treviño. And now here he is in a closer,
seventh inning guy essentially for the Yankees.
Exactly. Now he's in a closer carousel. I mean, that said, you never know what's going to happen, but I really would give the Guardians the edge when it comes to the bullpen.
Yeah, I believe so as well. And offensively, well, one team has Aaron Judge and the other one doesn't. However, that is Jose Ramirez on the other side. Andres Hernandez has done really well. You still have to give it to the Yankees, though, right?
I think you have to give it to the Yankees. I mean, I think what I think about this series is this series is. I think the Guardians do not get enough credit for the baseball that they've been playing. I don't think Tampa Bay was the best offense in baseball, but they virtually shut them down. I mean, they gave up a 2-run home run in the first game, and it was a solo shot, wasn't it, from Jose Siri?
Yeah.
And that was it. So that's pretty impressive. And it's not like they put up a bunch of runs as well, but I don't know. I think when it comes to the series, I know this is such a cop-out. It really would not surprise me if Cleveland pulled it off, but it also wouldn't surprise me if the Yankees just swept them. You know what I mean? But I think there's the lack of surety here. If they have a plan for Aaron Judge, which is just quite literally walk him every single time, and the Yankees go into the slump, I think it's the series is determined by Torres and Stanton. If they can be effective, then it's no question. It's absolutely no question that it's the Yankees to win.
I didn't hear the name. That's important. It's Harrison Bader, and he is going to steer this offense around. Okay. I have a good feeling, Fast.
Listen, the best thing about the playoffs in my mind, the thing that makes it better than any playoff in any sport, is that it's those guys who determine the winners.
It's the opportunity.
Steve Pierce. It's
exactly.
The Steve Pierce.
MV Pierce, you mean? That right. Everybody has their opportunity to soar.
Yeah, totally.
And it's going to be a very fun series there. On the National League side, we have the Phillies now with their 1-2 aces used on Friday and Saturday. going up against Atlanta, who may have Spencer Strider back. Max Fried, I haven't heard confirmation on Spencer Strider. I believe he would be, but I'm not totally sure there. But at the very least, Max Fried going up there. You have Charlie Morton there. How do you feel about these two rotations? I mean, it's going to be Ranger Suarez facing a Atlanta team that feasts on lefties. Oh my! Is this going to continue? You got more, or
we have like 18 minutes left. What if I just kept going for 18 minutes?
We'll be fine.
That's not great. There's an interesting tweet that I had earlier today that I had to delete, all because of Alex Chamberlain, and I already messaged him to yell at him. Max Fried's curveball, the only pitch in baseball to be thrown more than 500 times, not give up a home run, and not give up a barrel. Now, the original tweet also included Spencer Strider's slider, but he ended up giving up a home run a little bit later in the season, like 2 or 3 days, or like a day or so before he hit the IL. That is absolutely insane for Max Fried to have that stat. Like in today's day and age, considering how often he throws it for strikes too and puts it in the zone, that is pretty remarkable. Even with Strider gone, oh God, this actually is interesting though. So obviously you give it to Fried over Suarez, but then
what?
When it comes...
Well, I'm not ready to concede this point. Oh wait, yes I am. I'm sorry.
Okay, great. Now when it comes to what, Morton and Wright, is that?
Oh, who the number 2 is?
Yeah, Morton would be the 2, right?
I believe Charlie Morton would get the nod. You can make a very good case for Kyle Wright's about 3.13 ERA, something along those lines. Phenomenal season. But you gotta think that Charlie Morton is going to be there.
But still, so Nola is better than both, and Wheeler is better than both.
It's a 5-game set is the thing. So you have Ranger Suarez against Max Fried. You got to obviously give the edge to Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's evenly matched ish. I mean, I'm giving the edge to the Phillies in the in game 2, game 3, as far as that. But then it's really a question of Ranger Suarez game, or not Ranger Suarez, I guess Kyle Gibson game 4, piggyback with Noah Syndergaard. And then game 5, I guess you get Enola on. Yeah. Actually, you don't, because you only have 1 day off with the National League versus 2, I believe, in the American League. It's a little bit weirder, from my understanding. I'll double check that as I stall in a second. But I don't think that Nola will be able to come back for that game 5. So it's kind of weird. You really might only get those guys for 2 days of that 5-game set. And it's not a guarantee that Nola and Wheeler are just going to steal those games. And this Atlanta offense is phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings us then to the offense. I mean, it is on paper, it's an unbelievable offense for Philly, right? But baseball isn't played on paper, and it still is. They had a top 10 WOBA overall. I believe it's still a top 10. That was actually the 4th best. Whoa, bacon! You happy?
I'm so happy. By the way, there's only one off day, so you're not going to get Nola for game 5.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think even with I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Even with Nola, even if Nola did come back for a game 5, you still have to beat him, and then you would have to beat him twice. And like you said, it's not even going to happen. I think it would be very difficult to see a world where Philly is able to pull this out, because even though, like I said, Philly's 4th best in WOBACON or Wobacon, the only team to have a Wobacon over 400 was the Atlanta Braves. They are also top 5 in terms of WOBA. It's the better offense. It's definitely the better bullpen. You can definitely make a case that it's not the better rotation, but I don't know. I don't know if I could see a world where the Phillies pull this one out.
I'm not going to tell my prediction now, but I'm intrigued to see how Philly can tackle Kyle Wright. I'm curious how they can go after Charlie Morton. And I'm curious if that game 4 starter is for Atlanta. If it's Spencer Strider, it could tip the scales very much in their favor. You might see Spencer Strider before then. We'll see, maybe in a relief role. I don't know. It depends on if his week is okay or not. Very curious to see. But let's move on to the final series, and then I'll yell at you a lot about stuff.
What?
I'm just kidding. I'm gonna rant about things.
Oh, okay, great. All right.
I mean, yelling at you, that kind of thing. Dodgers Padres, and I gotta say, when we saw this 2 years ago in 2020, that was one of the best playoff series. That was unbelievably fun. Obviously, you had Fernando Tatis involved with that, and you had the Mookie Betts catch that was just so amazing. I mean, stuff like that is just. It used to have this air of the two best teams duking it out.
Yep.
It's a little different right now. And I feel it's not fair to us baseball fans with Darvish, Snell, Musgrove getting burned for this past series. So now Tuesday, you got to deal with Clevenger or Mania. It's not the same. Then you do get to reset it with Darvish, then Snell, then Musgrove. So it's not, a sudden thing with the Dodgers, not to mention Dodgers don't have Walker Buehler, of course. Dustin May is still hurt. You have Tony Gonsolin not fully back yet. Clayton Kershaw, hopefully he's all good to go. I mean, it's really Urias. Then you have Andrew Heaney and Tyler Anderson as well. It's not a lock that the Dodgers rotation is better than the Dodgers. It's really just game 1 that is the major question. Yeah. And of course, what happens game 5 after you've gone through Darvish, Snell, and Musgrove? How do you feel that these rotations stack up? Who do you pick?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's so tough to say because it feels like while they lack name value, it's still largely the rotation that is responsible for them winning a billion games this year, right? Yeah. Because when Buehler was pitching, he wasn't that effective. Right?
Sure,
when May pitched, he had 1 or 2 games where he was effective, and then really was not effective. Kershaw definitely effective, but he's theoretically back. So, and then there's been peaks and valleys like we've seen. Like Darvish finished incredibly strong, fantastic September. Snell the exact same way. Musgrove not so much, but figured it out in the past couple of starts.
Sure.
But then we saw the same old Snell, right? Really poor start for him in game 3.
Inefficient.
Super inefficient. Darvish, however, not the case. Looked absolutely fantastic. Musgrove, really, really fantastic start for him as well. There's an interesting, I'll get to that later, but yeah, in terms of rotations then, I guess I would still give it to the Dodgers. What about you?
Okay. I mean, I think you have to because of just the weakness of game 1 and game 5 for the Padres. I cannot emphasize enough. Mania and Clevenger have been massive disappointments.
Yeah.
For San Diego this year. I know Mania did look better down the stretch a little bit, but it's not the guys you want to rely on in game 1 or game 5. And with the Dodgers, they have depth with it. They can piggyback some stuff here too. You have to give it to the Dodgers. The offense, I mean, the Dodgers, it's insane how good this offense is.
Yeah, it's you can't not give it to them. And then there was a big thing that they brought up during the series on ESPN last week where no team struggled against higher velocity more than the San Diego Padres this year. And I will never forget how excited we were for ESPN when after the Juan Soto, Josh Bell trade, Brandon Drury acquisition, they had a series against LA and they were like, here we go. We got this new founded lineup and they got smoked. They got smoked.
Absolutely destroyed.
And I don't know. I just think that I would love it if San Diego could come in and make this a really competitive series. I don't know if I'll say I would love it as much if they won because I don't know, living in LA now and getting to know Dodgers fans and seeing how much they care about that team, it is fun. It is like they Dodgers fans are a different breed, man. Like they just like I even think they're more intense than Yankee fans. I think it's a different kind of fandom. Like maybe it's different because when I walk down the street, when I walk Tokyo at night, and I walk past the houses, every house has the Dodger game on, and that could be the case in New York, but it's all apartments, so I can't see anything. But it is a different brand of fandom out there.
Yeah,
So
I mean, they're all watching it after leaving after the 7th inning.
Yeah. So I brought it back.
You are addicted to that sound this time. I'm not against it.
Every fan base does it. And also, as someone who lives in that traffic now, it's like,
why not the 6th?
Yeah, I understand it. It takes 5 hours to get there and 6 hours to leave.
Yeah.
San Diego, however, that's a big series that they just won. It would be big. I tweeted about this yesterday, though. There are not enough rivalries in this sport right now, and we need this series to go 5. I think for baseball.
I couldn't agree more.
Just I love that. I want to be able to read about this all the time. I want a brawl in Game 2. I want all of it.
Okay. All right.
I want blood.
I hear you, Fast.
Blood.
So here we are. So
sorry.
Please, I know right here. I know. And we're gonna predict who wins the World Series. That's what we do every week.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier as we go on here. So let's start from the beginning here. Mariners, Astros. What do you got?
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll say Seattle.
Yeah, I'm saying Seattle too.
Okay. Yeah.
I actually believe the Seattle Mariners are going to pull this out, and I think it's because of the way this offense is gelling right now. They just got 10 runs against the Jays. They have all the momentum. They have all of we see this a lot is wild card winners like the Royals, like the Cardinals, like the Giants winning World Series because they just constantly get to play and be, in that rhythm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they all of a sudden show up and surprise and just shock the Astros here. So not to mention, I think we all agree that Verlander has been pitching above his head for this season. He's due for regression. We saw Framber Valdez just struggle in his last game to end the year. I believe it was a 6 earned run game, something like that. You just made a weird pose.
Well, because Verlander isn't overhead; he's more.
This is amazing, guys. What is this? This is unbelievable. This is what happens when Fast is doing it at 5 o'clock as opposed to me doing it at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Got an octopus clock over there.
No, it's when I'm inside my camping tent. Whew, boy. Okay. So how many games though the Mariners going to take it?
4.
I'll go 5. Just to be contrarian. Actually, no. They're going to sweep the Astros. They're going to sweep the Astros. Yeah, let's go. Yankees, Guardians, Fast. Where are you here?
Man, I'm struggling so much.
Yeah.
I would love to say that, it really kills me. Why not? Let's have some fun. Let's go with Cleveland. I just think there's a Cleveland in 5.
Okay.
No, because if it's gonna happen, it can't happen in 5.
I mean, it could because Bieber would return.
Oh yeah, Bieber would be able to come back because he's starting game 1.
Game 2.
Game 2.
Then you have a rest day. Then you have 4. And you have 3 and 4, and then you have 5. So theoretically, you can have 3 days rest and come back.
You know what? Yeah, it seems so they would lose 1 win. That'd be fun. 4, and then I'd have to come back again. It's a bridge too far. I think it can't happen. Never mind. I'm gonna go with the Yanks. Yanks in 4.
I'm saying Yanks in 3. I think it's just they're gonna bamboozle them.
Yeah, they might. They might.
But it would be such a Yankee thing this year for them just to lose in 4. I won't forget that Guardians had a 2.5% chance to win the World Series before the playoffs happened, the lowest of any team. And I'm pretty happy for them to take that opening series. Let's go to the Phillies and Atlanta.
Atlanta in 3.
Yeah. So I'm saying it's the Phillies in 5.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that Nola and Wheeler are going to mess them up. I think and don't rule out Kyle Gibson just having a brilliant start, especially as a righty against the Atlanta, as opposed to the lefty Ranger Suarez. I don't think they're going to win the first game, and I think you're going to see Wheeler and Nola take it. And Going to be a lot of pressure on Atlanta. I could even see Phillies doing it in 4 because of that.
It's fun.
We've seen Kyle Wright not have his curveball. You could see Charlie Morton throw some cutters that get blistered. Max Fried's going to win. I think game 1 is totally Atlanta's, but it might be a struggle to get that second or third win.
I dig it. I dig it.
Padres Dodgers fast.
I already had my one upset, which was Seattle. But I'm going to go ahead and say that San Diego is going to take the momentum into LA and win. And they're going to win in 5.
Not a chance. Dodgers are sweeping this.
Dodgers sweep?
Yeah, not even close. It's I mean, I don't think that. I think Snell's not going to be able to handle it. I think that Darvish is going to allow some home runs, and that's that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Darvish did not do well when he was a Dodger in the playoffs. Snell, can he rise to the occasion? Clevenger's throwing meatballs. God,
Clevenger's just throwing meatballs. He's just, I see Clevenger. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's throwing meatballs.
No, literally, he went to an Italian restaurant before the game. He said, I need about 140 meatballs.
Does Mike Clevenger belong in my top 100 for next year?
Yeah, he does. He does.
But do you know how many good pitchers there are?
I think when you're getting to the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there are going to be few who have the same upside that he does. And I think there is, while I will not probably...
Eduardo Rodriguez or Mike Clevenger?
Mike Clevenger.
I love you say that with like a furrowed brow.
I don't even know if I think it's... I would have to look deeper, but I don't even think it's close. I think with the stuff that Eduardo Rodriguez perpetually goes through and the inconsistency and the injury concern, Mike Clevenger, it makes sense. It's a bounce back from a second Tommy John in a walk year. Like, it wouldn't surprise me with a full regular offseason if he did get some of that velo back and start to look like himself a little bit more. Eduardo Rodriguez, I don't think the ceiling is there.
Yeah, okay. I don't know who I have retire.
Anyway, that's not what we're talking about here.
No, we're not. I just wanted to give that point of like Clevenger. What is this meatball city? Sure. Breaking balls have just been bad. Anytime the Clevenger has gone this year, his success has been rooted in fastballs getting high, and that is not how Clevenger has success. It's through his slider, and it's not really what we've seen. So I'm terrified about that. Sean Manaea has had ridiculous 60% plus CSWs on his slider the last 2 starts. Not so much usage, but that's supposed to be like a 25% CSW, and to see about 25 thrown going there is pretty ridiculous. I hope for the Padres' sake that can stay around, but no, the Dodgers are going to win this. It's like not even a question. All right, so there we have it. There is and let's just go from there now. So you're saying the Mariners are playing the Yankees, 7 games. What do we got?
I'll say Mariners in 6.
Mariners in 6 to the World Series against who? Atlanta or the Padres?
I'll say Atlanta goes back.
Okay, and how many games?
I'll say they do it in. They would be playing. I'll say they do it in 4.
Oh, sweep. Okay, look at you. All right, and then the World Series here we have Atlanta against the Mariners.
Let's have some fun, baby. Mariners. Let's have some fun. We keep the dream alive.
Yeah, Manfred's an ideal World Series. On the other side, I'm saying the Yankees in 6 against the Mariners. And then the Dodgers in 5 against the Phillies. And then I think the Dodgers take it in 6.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. But that's going to do it for today's edition of the Nick and Alex Baseball Show. Thank you all so much. I know it's a different day. We've got On the Corner coming out tomorrow. Check out the top 200 on the site tomorrow. Enjoy the playoffs. I mean, this is the fun stuff. This is the good baseball time. It is our time. October is baseball month. But that's it for today. So we'll be back next week. But my name is Nick Pollack.
I'm Alex Fast. We'll talk to you guys next week.